have with me a boss of mine. He was an instructor way back in uni um, when I was taking a course in guitar music or guitar, music appreciation, something like that. Guitar,
Yeah.
yeah. And then he was part of the instructors. The legendary Eja Konimo was the lead lecturer, and they worked under Eja Konimo. So he got to teach me guitar at some point, or music theory at some point. So um, he we used to call him Goodies, but I think his English name is Eugene Opon, or
Yeah, you know, for one to do.
Eugene Opon Pedu. Yeah, so and he uses the name Chichiku for his artist like an artist name. So you can look up his songs. He's an amazing musician, actually. Actually, I was watching one of your shows. Was it yesterday? Documentaries that you've done, and yesterday, and I was like, wow. I was enjoying like the storytelling in your music. We're talking about Anas and pre and ECG.
Yeah,
Pre.
that's
I'm getting
yeah.
ready to write an exam, and they'll put up pre.
You know the story.
Yeah, I was enjoying your music, and I'm happy about your journey as well. So you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. So
Mhm.
yeah. So did you ever get to meet Uncle Ebo Taylor?
Yeah, on several occasions, Ebo Taylor, um, Ebo Taylor, you know, a lot of people might have heard his name just in passing, you know, and I did hear his name in the days when I used to, you know, listen a lot to my dad's vinyl records. There were a lot of records that I could see his name, you know,
Oh, okay.
behind those records. And but it wasn't in until point I think 20206. I met a few friends from the US
Okay.
in Accra. They were music students in Legon. I know I think they were music students, but they were visiting students from New York University, and Ebo Taylor was giving them lessons also in Highlife, because at the time Ebo Taylor was a lecturer. You know, he was doing like what Konimo was doing in Perth. Ebo Taylor was in Lagos.
Oh, okay.
So they said to me, "Hey, let's go to Golden Field. My son is having a wedding, and there's a special person who's paying for the wedding, and you might know him, Ebo Taylor." And I said, "Oh, I know Ebo Taylor. Okay, let's go." So we went to Golden Field. We managed to get into the reception. We were not invited, but we used the name of a Botella, you know. And so we got to enter, and as soon as we got there, there was this big roast of pork. So we forgot about it. Botella. We went straight to the pork, you know. We were just helping ourselves. The Botella was playing, you know. So we watched the show for a while, and then after we said hello, but then we had to leave. So we did not really speak with him. That was the first time I was encountering him. I did not know that later we would become very close.
Mm.
You know, around 2012-ish, 2013, a lady called Akosia something, a filmmaker, a Ghanaian filmmaker based in the US, wanted to do a fundraiser and to sort of reinvigorate, you know, cinema culture in Ghana again. So some of the old classic cinema spaces we had in Accra, which were closed or turned into churches, we wanted to bring them back to activity. So she did a thing called Saving the Red, and she
Okay.
was able to allow myself to perform at the Red Cinema for her event. So that was the first time we were coming very close together and sharing the stage, Ebo Taylor and I. And from that moment, we became quite close. And yeah, we did a lot of shows. Shows that we shared the same stage. To the point that it got really, we got so close that at one point he said, I saw he was performing in Paris and I was also gonna go to France. And I said, oh, I'll be in France around the same time as you. I would love to open for you. And he said, yes, with great pleasure. Come and open for my show in Paris. So just like that. And actually, the people who were organizing this show were kind of not so sure what to do, whether to have an opener or not, And the Taylor gave the last word and said, yes, I want you to play. And, that was final.
Wow.
So, yeah. But before we went to Paris, we spoke in Accra at Abajo, and he said to me, I would love to see all the young musicians who are performing Highlife, to be able to go on tour, to be able to take our music out, to show our music to the world as well,
Wow.
So that was very inspiring for me. That was very special to hear someone like Ebo. I say Ebo because, I kind of had this almost like, relation with him, even though he's decades older than me, and I have a lot of respect for him. So, yeah, I obviously there are people who spend a lot of time with him than I did, but all the time that I spent in his presence, has to me so special, and I never take those times for granted.
Wow. Wow, you just mentioned about trying to meet the younger high life artists, and then encouraging them to go on tours and like opening doors for them. Wow, that's very that's a good like that's good of him.
Yeah, I mean, Ebo Taylor was a recording musician and as well as a performing musician, all highlight musicians from that era were these aspects. Today you have a lot of musicians who are recording but not so much of performing.
Okay.
And the performance of highlight is very important. So anybody from that era knows that if you do not get to perform, then you cannot enhance your skills. So I guess he understood this very well. And when I was starting off doing live performances of highlight, there were not many young bands. There were a few bands, but you could mention Ohiabeya of Kwame Abua, which was, a very good band, but they were doing a lot of different things. And Kwame inspired me a lot as well. But I remember in those days, I was really on the Accra scene. Apart from like you've got bands that are cover bands, that will play like hotels or play like Shovel Crew and this kind of bands. They were all there. But I sort of like started to put myself out there as an artist, as a musician who had his own band and who wrote his own music, directed his own sound. So I started to create this kind of brand and outlet for myself. And I was getting invited a lot to perform at the embassies and several events, artistic events in and around Accra. And it was quite difficult to have encouragement from people. So live band was not cool, especially for young people, and it's not what life. All my generation, everyone wanted to be a rapper or to be a producer, or that something that was considered cool and modern. And I was like, I can fairly play the guitar, I can do some vocal. I have a good background in Palm wine music from Polimo. I have a good understanding of Ghana's history musically. I've met a lot of musicians. My path is really tough for me. I do not need to be a star. I can just make this music and pay respect to this music and honor those who came before me. So to hear such words from Ebo Taylor like that was a very big encouragement to see. And I guess he did not only say that to me, I guess he said that to a lot of people because already his sons, his kids, I think there are 3 or 4. I think all his sons are musicians.
Okay.
So already you could see that he has a way of imparting what he knows to another generation, and he did not limit that only to his family. He trained a lot of musicians and always related to everyone as if they were his contemporaries, as if they were his age mates or things like that. And I remember once at class 233, I was hanging out with him and I wanted to understand a lot of the history. Every time I meet such people, I'm asking questions. So, Ebo, how was it? I know you had this program, you had this band with Ambule, Apija show band. I mean, between you and Ambule, who is the eldest? And he says, "Who? Ambule." Speaking in that impeccable fancy. So, yeah, he always related to everyone as if they were his age mate or contemporary. And that's something I find super humanly nice about it.
Wow. But prior to meeting him, you had heard his music, right? What was you said your dad had his vinyl records?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. So how will you?
The thing is, there are some records that you do not know that it's Ebo Taylor who's
behind them.
We've all heard Ebo Taylor, but we didn't know, because at that time Ebo Taylor was really like he's not like the front man, the star man, But if you heard once I was speaking with Pastor Mark, and actually we were playing this song together in Jamestown with Pastor Mark. And he said, yeah, the arrangement of that music was by Ebo Taylor.
Wow.
Yeah. Then, when we were young, we used to sing this song, handkerchief,
okay.
That's like a kid's song we sing in Ghana. I don't know if the kids sing that today. But Ebo Taylor was the first to popularize that song, to put that song on record and arrange it. So if you sang that song, you sang Ebo Taylor, really, he's the one who sort of like immortalized that song.
Wow.
And yeah, there's a lot of guitar works from, I think, the Stargazers band, or some of the classic Highlife bands from that period were all by Ebo Taylor.
Wow.
So yeah, I knew both consciously and subconsciously Ebo Taylor's work live with us. We've heard it all the time.
Wow. It looks like in Ghana, it looks like a lot of people are not familiar with him as much as maybe we know Papa Yankson or Ambule. But even though he was actively in music, even in his old age, he was still touring. But it looks like there was that gap between his music and the name and the people receiving the music.
Yeah. You see, Ebo Taylor was of a generation who he went to St. Augustine, right?
Okay.
And then he had like a scholarship from the Ghanaian government, and Kuma wanted them to study music in London.
Okay.
So they came back to Ghana with a big reputation, and they were so much sought after for arranging music and directing the recording process of a lot of albums in Ghana.
Okay.
And so his name was not just attached to the musician who could sing or play guitar. He had a bigger respect, a holistic respect. Like, I remember once I was speaking with Parquet, Holbrook Smith. He's someone that, a connoisseur of Ghana's music history. And he said something, he was throwing Ebo Taylor's name. People from that period, if you ask them, they will always say a history and throwing Ebo Taylor's name. It so happens that, that if you look at the Ghanaian population and the way we've listened, we've consumed music, there is this population that goes up to maybe say from the 50s, 40s, 50s up to the 80s who are familiar with a certain sound and a certain number of musicians. And then from the 80s up to, let's say, late 2000s, the whole new kind of population that know a certain kind of music and do not know what happened before. Right. And now we've got people from the 2000s upwards who really know what happened. They might go back as far as Lumba and American Bomb from the 90s, but cannot tell you anything more. So Ebo Taylor sort of like exists within that period.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's for the people who really were into Ghanaian music and really into the historical music that, know his stuff and would go after his stuff. Or really, but what happens with all great musicians from that period is they find a way to come back.
Yeah.
And often when they come back, it's on a bigger scale, it's on an international scale because like the country has consumed him, people know him, we've gone past that. For us it's cultural. Our cultural is a higher life. We tend to go beyond what we've consumed and then try to find new things, try to find new stars, try to find new icons. And once we've gone past you as a musician, then we look to something else. But for the international community, it's more about who you represent. Ebo Taylor represented Ghana, the music of Ghana. He represented Highlife. He represented, even to a large extent, Afrobeat as well.
That's
so
true.
For the international, So for the international community, Ebo Taylor, was discovered as this god. And of course his work show and prove that. And they made they made the modern Ghana population rediscover Ebo Taylor as well.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until the reissue of Ebo Taylor's music by Scratch Records or Soundwaves, some of these record labels, that a new and a young generation in Ghana started to dig into Ebo Taylor's music. And since that time, I think when I heard about the first release, I think it was about 2010. 2011, he's been keeping himself active until his passing. So that's something that not many musicians would be able to do. To be relevant from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s,
over 60 years.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the highest level of musicianship. Ebo Taylor will always occupy that position.
Wow. Wow. And I mean, talking about, when I started doing a research on him, talking about the Afrobeat, I realized that, this thing that our brothers they've capitalized on, is it not what Ebo Taylor is doing? Like, I was listening to his sound.
What do you mean, our brothers?
As in Nigeria, they've put Fela at the forefront. Oh, Fela is the one who brought Afrobeat. Meanwhile, Fela was in Ghana learning Highlife, and he came to pick sounds and went to create his own and all that. But I was just listening to the Ebo Taylor sounds, like this is the Afrobeat these people are making noise about, but it's been here with us already.
Yeah. The thing is, and this even applies to Highlife. Less. But for any music style to cross boundaries and become accepted, it has to be done by not one person. It has to be a movement. And that movement includes figureheads of that style, and also people from different backgrounds, from different regions who also contribute to that style.
That's true.
And a big part of Afrobeat itself was influenced by James Brown's music and funk. And in those days, funk was everywhere, soul was everywhere. And in Ghana, like Ambule and Ebo Taylor, they were some of the people who could produce this kind of sound as well. So once you are doing Highlife and you're doing, let's say, Juju, and you are into funk and jazz, because Ebo Taylor had a lot of jazz, the jazzy side as well. You gravitate naturally to producing a sound that is Afrobeat. If you decide to experiment with an African element. So it was a no-brainer that like Afrobeat will come to a state. The thing is, Fela's input, by the way he organized the whole thing, it's not just the music, but the idea of resistance, challenging the establishment, which is not so much what Highlife is known for.
Yeah.
It's what gave that accolade what Fela made.
Yeah.
But there are also people who say, like me, I've heard records that were produced around the same time Fela was doing Afrobeat, and you couldn't say that. I mean, the question is whether they were trying to produce like Stella or not. But I interviewed Nana Pedi once, and in his house, he said to me, there's an album of Nana Pedi called Locomotive.
Okay.
If you listen to the album, I think it was recorded in the late 70s or early 80s. It's pure Afrobeat.
Wow.
And Nana Pedi calls that style Afro Healing or Afro Highly. And Nana Pedi says it was a response to how Fela had, the fire was spreading and everyone was into Afrobeat. So Nana Pedi tried mixing Highlife and Afrobeat and named that Afro Healing or Afro Highlife.
Okay.
So we have examples of people taking inspiration from Fela. At the same time, we know that Fela came to Ghana a lot and explained a lot of musicians. Why did he not go to Cameroon? Why did he not go to Congo? It's because if he came to Ghana, it's because there were musicians here that had a lot of pedigree and he respected.
Yeah.
And some of those musicians include Ebo Taylor, and this is why Ghana is always present in the discussion of Afrobeat, because the theme that was going on in Accra contributed to the development and evolution of Afrobeat. And on top of it all, Fela was a student in London at the time, at the same time that Ebo Taylor was also a student in London. And the two of them obviously interacted a lot. So you can see where the root and the source is coming from.
So they more like influenced each other. Musically. Wow. That's...
Like when Ebo Taylor goes to Lagos, when he goes to the shrine, like everybody stands up, all the showing like some of the accolades that shown speaks of Ebo Taylor, because they saw the man with his dad, from back in the day. They have big respect for Ebo Taylor. That's because they know the history.
Wow. That's good, Charlie. But I mean, Ghana and Nigeria, we are just musical brothers. When you listen to...
I was born in Nigeria.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was born in Nigeria, a place called Jos. So from like early in the day, I'm really attached to Nigerian culture, Nigerian music. My dad used to play a lot of Nigerian music. So, it's quite... I mean, I think without Nigeria, Ghana would not say that in many ways. Without Ghana, Nigeria would not also take itself serious.
Yeah, I mean, we are complementary of each other. I mean, different ways. Yeah, they are just the wonderful brothers who fight and eat from the same plate. Yeah, and one thing back to the Ebo Taylor, one thing I realized about his music, I loved about his music, is the horn arrangements. Apart from the percussion, but the main thing that struck me was his horn. Like, you can listen to horn arrangements without no vocals or little vocals. It's like the horn arrangements.
Yeah,
that's what struck me about.
Weird. Yeah, that's the first thing. Yeah, I need to ask you, did Ebo Taylor play any horn instrument? I do not know for sure. I need to ask the family. But you see, Ebo Taylor came from that era where you have the King Blues, the E.T. Mentor, where Highlife was really a horn-based music. If you listen to Mr. Bobaya, All For You, all the time, there's the verse, chorus, and then the horns will take over.
Yeah.
So I guess his idea of music already revolved around horns, because horns have a way of setting up the arrangement of a song for you already. If you know that the horns have to play 3 or 4 different sections. Each section after like a verse and a chorus and a break. The music is already arranged.
Yeah.
The horn sections are very good tools to have an idea of where the music is going, the direction. And then Ebo Taylor's kind of way of arranging horns, I think he evolved it into a direction that was quite interesting. I can hear the way he plays his guitar, the way he phrases his guitar line, and the way he arranges his horn. For instance, take Love and Death. You see, the start and the horn section that plays. You know, it's like when a Taylor plays this kind of jazzy lick every time he does a solo. Even the intro of Love and Death. Da 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 da. There's this punch they are making, and in between the Butela is feeling before da 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 da.
Okay.
And if you listen to the phrasing of the horns, it's like the Butela playing those lines, and I know for a fact that because I know very well Ben Ababanel, who is one of the producers behind the reissue, the reissue of Love and Death.
Okay.
They recorded out that album with like the German-based saxophone player, and I remember him saying that Ebutela would play the horn lines with his guitar, and then they would transcribe it onto their horn.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, the thing about horn and guitar is they really go together, and Ebutela is like the master of that. Transcribing the guitar for the horn to create an arrangement.
Wow, Charlie, he's a genius.
Oh yeah,
he's a genius. I mean, the horns, and they are beautiful. The song is not boring. Like
no.
Yeah.
There's also one aspect of Ebo Taylor that people are not so familiar with. It's the fact that Highlife in itself, you cannot really describe a generic style of what highlight music is in terms of
the expression.
It's got a lot of forms,
different expressions.
Yeah. It makes you can have like beating, you can have the amponta, you have like they're really like slow movement, slow tempo highlights, a bit like the waffle.
Yeah.
You have different forms, and it's not many musicians who are able to master a lot of these forms. Sometimes some people just take one and concentrate it, like let's say Yamwa, the musicians who created Yamwa, Martin Kansa, Jeku, who did the work with from Yamwa's band.
Okay.
They were really into this slow, that kind of slow. There are some people who took some aspect of highlight and made it their own. If you look at Ebo Taylor, he cuts across. Ebo Taylor, if you listen to all his albums, he's got every style of highlight. And that is the mark of like a genius, because you have to be that good to be able to wallow through the years and the sound of highlight. And it's not many people who achieve that sort of like Nirvana-ish accolade.
Wow. Wow. It's a blessing. Yeah. Wow. So, from where you sit, how do you think Ebo Taylor has influenced our music sound in Ghana, and maybe the general global music sound? From where you sit, how would you assess his contribution to Ghanaian music first of all, and then to the global music. His contribution, his legacy to that. How will you consider that?
I don't think I'll be able to see any given how it's so vast. Some things are quite dear to me in terms of what he contributed. And I'd like to touch on the fact that Highlife is a sound. It's a style, but it's also got a sound, and it's also got a sound that captures a history of even how the music was recorded. And after the 80s, now from the 80s onwards, we started to sound very different. We started to create something that was quite complicated to have an identity with. That means we started to make music based on samples and emulations and sequenced music. Whereas before Highlife was really a style that was recorded with live musicians in a live room, everyone playing together. That captures a lot of the ambience of the room and the sound. So when it came to a time that Ghana needed to show an icon to the world that would carry and say, this is our sound, this is our music life. You couldn't mention Lumba, Nane Champon, Kojenchi, Alex Medicood. All these musicians I'm mentioning are great musicians of their era, but their sound is similar to what you can find somewhere. Like Kojenchi, when I listen to Kojenchi, it reminds me a lot of Magic Queens or Earth, Wind and Fire. Lumba reminds me a lot of Prince or even Michael Jackson. Because obviously was influenced by the style and the star atmosphere around this kind of musician. Whereas Ebo Taylor sort of like showed the world that Ghana's sound is like this, Ghana's style is like this. Before you appreciate what we are doing in the modern world, in the modern sense, you can also appreciate what we've given to the world since 1925 or 1928. And we've worked all these decades to establish a sound and a style. Why put that away to try to do something new to the world? So he became the icon to the world that gave a definition to our music and a definition to our sound. And that is for me the most important thing. Today you can call up Shatawale, you can call up Stoneboy, you can call up Kamini, Sarkodie. These are musicians that also tell about our music to a new dispensation, to a new audience, to a new set of ears. But if you take them away, can we have other icons to tell the world how our music sounds like? We needed someone, a regular student for us.
That's true.
So, yeah, today if you go to Berlin, you go to London, you go to Paris, like you mentioned Ebo Taylor, everyone knows about Ebo Taylor. You mentioned Love and Death, everyone knows it. A lot of bands with fun sections that Love and Death becomes like a required repertoire material. You need to know how to play the horn line of Love and Death. It's become a standard for Highlife.
Wow.
So that's very important and something that we should not take lightly at all.
Wow. I mean, you're talking about Love and Death, the horn lines and all that. And I checked on him and I realized like a lot of people have sampled his music. And sometimes it's just the horns that they use.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just the horns. The horns, the progression, that is all.
I was discussing with Philip from Yo-Yo Things Nasa on sampling and why Ebo Taylor was like such a musician that people like to sample, especially in hip hop. To sample someone's work, to make a decision to sample an album or a vinyl, like what do you look? You must ask yourself, what do you look out for? You look out for passages where mostly people are not singing. mostly it's instrumental. That you can take a bit of a few seconds of that part and then you can flip into something and
Yeah.
create your own. Today, if you take the songs we're making from, okay, now we have stem splitters and everything with AI, but let's say let's forget about that. If you take the average song produced today, from the beginning of the song to the end, the beginning of the song, you hear, what, the Austin Day, or you hear someone speaking, to the end of the song, there's vocal all the time. So this makes sampling very difficult
Mm.
because you sample it, you are going to provide your own vocal. You just need the beat or something.
Mm.
And Ebo Taylor then they made music that the music the music is breathing. That means like there is vocal, a bit of vocal here. The arrangement is so good. The horns coming in. You have guitars. You have a bit of a break of the drums. So if a sampler heard this, they were like, oh, this portion I can sample it and use it and flip it and twist it and make something new with it. You know, and that is why Ebo Taylor Dams their materials are so good for sampling.
Mm.
Then again, we must understand that in the era of Ebo Taylor, they recorded on like very good material, on vintage mixing disc, on vintage like tape machines.
Mm.
They had like vintage preamps. Today, what we call vintage. They had like the best mic preamps, the best microphones.
Wow.
And if you listen to very good hip hop, you can see that like the sound is always warm. The sound is always like vintage style, vintage sounding. And to sample, so if you want to sample something, you're always going to sample something that like a vinyl that fits into the sound that you're producing from like an American studio, because American studios have all the best equipment, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And so because from a Taylor's days they use the best equipment as well. If you sample music from that era, it fits well with the production of like American hip hop
Okay.
because they are mixing on very good gear. The sound does not sound off. It fits
Mm-hmm.
really well, and that's why. But that you could say that is by luck, but it could also mean that a boot Taylor used the material that they have at their disposal at the time to write music. Obviously, those materials influence how they arrange the music and how
Mm.
they record it.
That's true.
And you needed to be good to arrange and write music and record on vinyl in those days. So yeah, it's very important. That's why boot Taylor gets samples a lot.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
that's some great education. Like, and that's true because his songs his songs, like, they breathe, like you're saying.
They
Horns will
do.
he allows the horns to play, and he'll
The
come
horns will
in,
play.
either
You
will
come
tell a
in, give
small
us some
story
guitar lines.
or
Yeah,
small vocals,
yeah,
and then they'll play an
yeah,
interlude again.
yeah.
Wow.
It's
That's
important. I mean, in those days they worked with musicians.
mm-hmm.
If you're working with musicians, you are dealing with you are dealing with emotions. You are dealing with egos. You are dealing with people's times and people's energy. So you're not gonna make a guy come and sit in the studio, rehearse the whole day, and then have them just play one note and go away. You're gonna give them some bars to make a solo. You're gonna make them feel happy. You're working with
Mm-hmm.
people. So that's why music from back in the day, you can feel the soul of each musician in the song.
Yeah.
When the horns play, when the horn guy comes out to take a solo, when the guitarist takes the solo, when you hear the drummer responding to like a horn call or something that the singer said, you can feel everybody contributing to the music in real time.
Yeah.
Whereas today, like you really hear basically two people, the rapper or the singer, and then the producer.
Mm.
So you know, nothing really matches what these guys were doing back in that era. It's really,
Mm. Wow.
yeah, it's really impressive.
That's some good.
And for Ebo Taylor to be like a commanding name in that era, Charlie, yeah, people do not understand this, but not able anybody got up and say, "Oh, I'm gonna record or I'm gonna arrange music." But you have to have that trust. People have to trust you that you can do the work,
Mm.
call you to arrange for them. And if you have a Taylor on your song, you are gone.
Wow.
Mm.
Wow. Wow. That's good. So, um, from your opinion, I realized he was actively touring, and then like the sampling side, from from where you sit, from the music business side of things. How do you think, or what do you think, Uncle Ebo Taylor did that positioned him well for um, the sampling aspect, and then being actively touring? Like, he was literally touring. Even in
Mm-hmm.
wheelchair, he was touring.
Yeah. Mm.
What do you think he did, or he did right, that he was recording side is working, performing side is working, sampling, other people are like the sync side, people are using his
Mm.
works and earning something from it? What did you think he did right that we can learn from?
Um, Recently I did a short video on Ebo Taylor, like a moment that I had with him. Luckily, like there was the camera that was filming stuff. And what I realized with Ebo Taylor is, upon all his skill and his resourcefulness, the most important thing that he worked with was his human relations, the way he related with people. Because you could have all this skill and still be a very horrible person, and no one would like to work with you. Ebo Taylor up until his like last years, like he was always getting visitors. He knew how to make friends. He knew how to speak with people. He knew how to make people feel good about himself. You know, and that is just the human aspect. But we must also be aware that these musicians, they recorded onto tape, they made vinyl, and they were always copies of their music. They recorded like for Decca or like really well established record labels who had like copies of their song masters or things like that available. Today everything we're doing is like digital. There was a lot of musicians who have recorded released songs, and if you ask them for a copy of their own song, they cannot give you, because like the guy from the studio bounced the song for them and they just uploaded it onto the net, and so they don't have like a physical, you know, they just don't have it. So in this instance, if anybody wants to work with their songs, it's quite difficult. But they both like them. Mind you, in those days, they were real publishers, they were real record labels who worked with their material. Their songs were duly registered and duly copyrighted. And if you want to sample music, if anybody serious wants to sample music, they want to check about all these things and make sure they are present so that they don't get into any legal issues. You know. This is why there's a lot to be learned from the way the OGs work, the way they created their stuff and how they operate it, administratively. So these are some of the things I think about Taylor occupied himself with, that placed him at the position he was, to be able to tour. His first tour when he did that in the later years was with the Afrobeat Academy. And it was a mix of Ghanaian musicians and musicians from Germany.
Okay.
So that's already tells that he did that for like 5-6 years.
Wow.
That means if you have good working conditions with people, they would always want to work with you. Important.
Wow. That's some good lessons.
Yeah.
That's some good lessons. So that means that as musicians, we should take our like song registration, publishing a bit more
Seriously.
seriously, so that
Yeah.
and record keeping of the masters, of the mastered files and all that.
Yeah.
That's
Like with me, every time I produce, I write music, I record music, I save all my stems in the cloud. I save them online in the cloud. And I know there are musicians who even buy tape cassettes and bounce everything on podcast, because podcast assets can stay for a long time. They can stay for 20 years, 50 years. If there's no founders, if you take them, take care of them, so you will always have like physical copies of your material. But then again, for me, every time I put a song out, it means the song is got an ISRC code. My songs are always registered with like SACEN. SACEN is like the French version of, let's say, Gambo. So my songs are always registered, which means that if in 50 years, 30, 40, 20 years, someone takes a song of mine and they want to work with it, it would have duly been registered and all the credits would be able to be followed, to work with. This is important. Sometimes people will get scared because you don't know what mess they are getting themselves in, because they don't know who owns what song, who owns what percentage of the song.
Wow. So the name you mean, is this Safin? When you are registering with them, do you register with the track itself or?
So I think every, what do they call it, CMO or Right Collection Society, each one of them has got a way they operate. Like with SASEM as an example, you need to have like a lifetime registration. It doesn't cost. You can just have a one-time registration, but to do that you must already have a song, and you can use that to register for lifetime registration. And then each time you want to register your song, you just go on their website and then you fill a form. You have to put a sample of the song, and then you submit the song, and then you wait for a day, and they send you the details of the registration. Once you've done that, it's registered for life.
Oh, okay. So you upload the song to them.
You upload the song. It doesn't have to be the final song. Even if you're writing a song and you sang the song, you've hummed it like a cappella on your phone, you can take that recording and send it and say, this is the song, this is the title.
Wow.
And then you register it. So now you can go to the studio and do the song as you want it to sound. And in the metadata of that song, you will take the registration details that started sent you and stick it into the metadata of the song.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's some good education.
Yeah, it's not complicated. I know that for musicians, like administrative work it's not fun. It's not the fun part to do. So you can easily ignore it, but it's very important.
Wow. Wow. Anyway, that's some good education. Wow. So, rounding up on Ebo Taylor's conversation, how do you think we'll remember him? Just finally, how do you think we'll remember Ebo Taylor as a people while we round up on the conversation?
Yeah. Something very important is happening. I do not know if people realize it. Ebo Taylor, a day before he died, a festival was launched in his name.
Oh.
Ebo Fest. Right, and it was launched at the Alliance Concert in Accra.
Wow.
They had just gotten back from tour and they put that together, the family. When you are able to take your music on tour, you do not only meet new audience, but you also learn a lot of things. And one of the things you really would like to do is, festivals. Music festivals are such a downside, and it creates such a big economy, and I think Ghana should be looking more into that. And so they created that Ebo Fest, and this already stands to preserve his legacy. Because imagine every year, if there's going to be Ebo Fest, everyone will ask, okay, but why are we calling it Ebo Fest? And then if you do not know Ebo Taylor, you'll find out about him, But that will also ensure that his name hangs around for as long as possible. So that's how, I think that's one of the ways that we're going to remember Ebo Taylor. Another way is the fact that his sons are all musicians. Like Roy X Taylor is a very good friend, a brother. Henry Taylor is the brother, the bassist, they're all these guys, and they actively involved in music. In fact, Ebo Taylor did something very intelligent. He, I think when he realized that he didn't have much time left and he didn't have a lot of energy, he created, he, he transitioned the band into something that could exist even after he was gone. So he called it the family band, Ebo Taylor and the family band. Before it was Ebo Taylor and the Soul Tony, something Soul Tony, right? Before that, it was Ebo Taylor and the Afrobeat Academy, and then finally became Ebo Taylor and the family band. And then he went on tours with the sons, with the family. And made people realize that yeah, these young men are carrying the torch. They are able to perform the music as well, and they got the trust of people. So today, even though he's not around, his kids are performing his music. They are also writing their own music and continuing the legacy. So this will already ensure that the Taylor's name and legacy stays around. So these very big things that are happening, which is a big lesson for a lot of musicians. You can encourage your kids to go into music. Of course, you should not force them, but when they go into music, you can support them.
That's true.
You can support them. And try to institute things, festivals or activities that can, let your legacy hang around for a while. That's quite important.
Wow, that's some good lessons there. That's some good lessons there. Wow. We thank God for the life of Ebo Taylor, and then I mean you've spoken highly of him, his human relations and his ingenuity in music, and then a lot of things.
One, I didn't tell you this. Once I was working in the school, I was watching in the street just in front of there's a bank just after the campus circle, and we're going to Oxford Street.
Okay.
And I heard someone shout, "Hey, what is it cool? This is cool. Because the uncle did fufu." I was like, who they called me? Who they called me like that? So I turned and it was a good trailer to come to in a taxi.
Wow.
I went over and I spoke with them. So, yeah, you could give, but I could give. We went somewhere in the and ate. Then they said, yeah, we're going to come here, boss studio. We're going to record. It's going to be Tony Allen who's going to be there. Pastor must come. Let's go to the studio.
Wow.
I said, okay, let's go to the studio. I went with them. We got there. Yo, I'm here, boy. Sunday. All these guys. And then there was Tony Allen, Thomas. My goodness, Charlie. Like, okay, that's what I'm talking about. So they were recording a number of songs for Pastor Marcus in this album. And I was filming a bit. And then at the point I had family. And the boy was saying, "Yo, the Bobby, play on one of the songs." So they gave me a guitar. Let me play. And yeah, they made me record on one of the songs.
Wow.
So just like that, like that, like I just got out of my house. I was going to just like that. And I followed Ebo Taylor, went to the studio, met all these musicians that, if you're lucky to meet Ebo Taylor,
Thomas, Tony Allen,
who Kwame Ebua, all these great guys, in the same studio, the same way challenge. You can do fasting for 100 days, you will not die.
Wow.
That was a very great experience. That was amazing. Top it all off, having me play on that album, on that collection of songs, that was such a
wow.
wonderful thing. Mm.
Wow. That's,
Mm.
that's some good revelations there.
Yeah.
So as we round up, are you now based in France for good, or you are there for work?
Yeah, I mean, I live in France. I live in France. I moved between France and Ghana, but for most part of the year, gradually I settled in France. I used to
Okay.
go in between, and then I started a family here. So I settled in France. I go to Ghana nearly once a year,
Okay.
twice sometimes. And in April I'll be in Accra. I have a few performances in Accra.
Wow, that's nice. That's nice.
Mm.
And I'm sure you are still pushing your music over there.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, France is a country that treats music in a very special way. So for me, it helps me a lot. Like, I don't stress so much about music as I would today if I was in Ghana. I don't know what I would have done, but France is got such a very robust system for music, which I'm very happy with. So,
Wow.
my skill set as a musician also helps me a lot here. Like, I run a jam session called the Highlight Jam where a lot of musicians come, a lot of people come. They're so happy to come and jam with me and get into highlights and Afrobeat and so that that's that's very good. Apart from that, then I also like quite a number of performances in the year. You
Okay.
know, there are some years I do a lot of tour days around Europe in France. There are some years that I do mostly France, but yeah, it's quite an active like music country.
Wow. Wow. I'm
Mm.
happy for you.
Yeah,
I'm
I
happy
didn't
for
see it. I
I'm
just
I'm
came
happy for you because music is not so like the path of music is good, but it's not so easy. I mean, from
yeah.
our side of things, it's not so easy. But I'm happy for you.
You know, this, yeah, yeah, definitely. A lot of the professions that we have, especially in Ghana, our professions were all taught to us through the school system, and school systems train people to be able to, to work in, let's say, factories and production lines. And it's only a few things, professions that really entails you using your passion and your gift
Yeah.
to push music. But a lot of these kind of professions are not really rewarded as in, are not really structured out as with like the way our educational system structured professions with, say, being a lawyer or doctor or anything to the engineer and things like that. So if you're doing music in Ghana, you have to be very strategic
Yeah.
about the way you do music. Because it can be quite complicated at the time. It's the kind of thing that you need a lot of passion to be able to go through.
That's true.
Um, I have a musician friend who has just taken a stage joint and said to me and I said, yo, listen, if you're doing music, it's like a movement. Music is such a thing that if you do, you have the power to organize people, to bring your community together, bring people together. When people come together, they want to eat, they want to
Yeah.
eat.
They want to talk.
Music
They want to
always
just.
goes with a lot of business to start to fly.
That's true.
And I think a lot of musicians do not think about this. Like if I was someone like someone like Amachi Dede, why Amachi Dede stayed relevant in the Ghanaian music in all these years when a lot of the bands from his era did not just continue and stay relevant with him. Because Amachi Dede had like a bar, he had a spot, he had a venue where music he could perform his own music and people would come and eat and drink.
Okay.
So people thought he was always active, and then when they were in events like National Theatre Conference game, and they invite him to the day because they saw he was still active. Whereas a lot of the other musicians, they were not seeing
We're not
them, they did not
performing.
have their own place. So it's important that if you do music in Ghana, especially that you must have like some business with it. And it's not always easy to practice for it, but I think it's something that musicians can think about it. Have a key joint, have a bar, put a small stage, put a just some nice sound, some nice lighting, just organize a weekly event. people come and drink and eat. That is money coming in, you know,
That's right.
also perform, you know. That's
Mm.
how, that's the way to go. That's something, look at Reggie Rockstone, you know. Reggie, you know, he did music, bought the display, did a club, did a bar, did a DJ. Now Reggie makes more money from selling to watches than even music.
Yeah.
You know, but it's the music that gave him that leverage,
Yeah.
you know. So it's important.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for making time, and I'm happy that I mean you I know arbitrary timing and all that weren't favorable, but I mean you pushed to be available and make it happen. So I'm very grateful.
Yeah,
I'm very grateful.
yeah, I know we've been going back and forth trying to set this up, you know, I'm
Yeah,
really sorry, you know. Yeah, but finally we were able to make it. So,
I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful.
mm,
Yeah, so
okay.
it's been great having Kyekyeku on my music story. Please go and check out his YouTube channel and check out his music online. He's an
Yeah,
amazing guitarist. I'll go and listen to more of your songs. I mean, yesterday or so, I was mostly on your YouTube channel, so it was more of
mm,
documentary, BBC, CNN, or
yeah,
something documentaries I was seeing. But I mean,
mm,
I'll check out more of your music, and it's been great having you. And
yeah. Nice,
yeah,
it's nice to chat with you. Really
thank you.
appreciate this stuff. So when it's all done here, send me that link so I can watch.
All right, I'll do that. Thank you
Okay.
so much. We'll keep in
Have a
touch.
nice evening, man.
Okay,
Yeah.
bye.